It was an unsettled time for me, which was good as far as my work was concerned, but bad for the old personal life. Those are the breaks. You can't have everything. Whoops, a platitude. It slipped out. Don't worry. I will make every effort not to moralize. Moralizing is paralyzing. Things are what they are. There's no point in burying them in meaning. Meaning only covers things up. What I try to do is strip off the covers so people can see things as they are. Many people find this disconcerting, and I like that. New music, for instance, is always disconcerting. A truly new sound, the first time it is played, that is a disconcert, and that is where I like to be. I had left one city for another, lured by a job that turned out to be much worse than I thought it could be. Rose went with me, but later she left, something I did not understand then, nor do I understand it now. But it was her move. She eventually married a guy I introduced her to. It seems a bit ironic, if you know what I mean, but I don't dwell on it. She did what she had to do. Me too. No platitudes. Before Rose left, and while I was still working at the job that turned out to be much worse than I thought it could be, I was also looking around for a space where possibly I might get a theater going. We'd had one in the place I'd left, a group of us, and there was a lot of good energy in it. A lot of good things came out. We called it the Black Box Theater. It operated in the manner of a classic black box. The idea we had was if you put good stuff in, then good stuff might come out. We worked on the principle of mysterious process. That's what happened inside. PMP we called it, and when people told us they didn't know what it meant, we'd tell them that was all a part of the process. We put on multimedia performances with traditional, what you might call art objects, and slides, movies, actors, music, pre-recorded stuff. A vibrant environment is what we were trying to create for an evening's experience, like a zoo if you let all the animals out. And the people who came seemed to approve, even if they didn't know exactly what it was, which was great. That was what we were shooting for, PMP, that sense of dislocation, disconcert, and that was the type of thing I thought I might get started in this new place. I got nowhere with the theater idea, which only made it harder for me. There's nothing more frustrating than going around all the time with a perfectly good idea, one you know that works, you've seen it work, you help make it work, and there's no way to get it out. After a while, that perfectly good idea turns on you and starts eating you up. But there's no way you can get anything done alone, and I'd cut too many ties, had none in this new place, so I couldn't get started, and the job sucked, and the idea began to turn on me, and that's probably why Rose left, which didn't help. I was in a gallery one day talking to the guy who ran it about renting the space for the theater, and it was not going well. It's so humiliating trying to explain your ideas to somebody you know for certain couldn't possibly understand them, doesn't want to, just isn't on that wavelength. I usually have a rule that when it gets to the point of explanations, I walk away, but I was very hungry to get something started, so I stayed, and I was making a fool of myself. I never should have been talking to him. He had the worst kind of crap on display. He was a pompous ass, and he made it clear that he thought I was some kind of kook, and he was humoring me. Like he's somebody, and I'm spit on the sidewalk. And I was wondering if I should be angry or if I should just forget the whole thing. I mean everything, all of it. Who cares? Why bother? When in came this other guy, and he had just arrived from Philadelphia, and he's a video artist, and he's interested in the same thing I am, the exact same thing. No explanations needed. I believe that miracles happen like this. Sheer coincidence. Wham! Out of the blue. Rose would have said it was meant to be. I say you have to be persistent, hang in there until a good thing happens. Meeting a like-minded person is a very good thing. Rare and good, a miracle. Right there at that moment, in that gallery with that prissy, pink-faced, poodle-haired snob condescending to speak to me, when this other guy walked in and introduced himself, and we started talking, right at that instant I felt a tingling sensation like, oh boy, This is really going to take off and lead to something great. And I knew I could not be mistaken. His name was Rex Thomas. We hit it off right away. It was incredible. 1 minute nothing was happening, and then I meet Rex, and suddenly, boom, everything is happening. Except for Rose. She was not meant to be. So it's everything minus Rose, and then Jessica, a girl I met in England, comes to see me, and she decides to stay. So it's everything minus Rose plus Jessica. But I never was very good in math, so I can't tell you how that added up. It just did, to whatever number it was. The answer is always what the answer is, no matter what it is. Rex and I do some videos that we put on cable access, but they look funny on TV to us. So we do one called We Always Wanted to Be on TV. And it's just these people doing little routine daily chores, and they're all standing on TVs, no matter what they're doing. And they're talking to the viewers, telling them how much they'd like to be on TV. They'd give anything. A minor sight gag. And we had another one where Rex invents this machine that transports him into old TV shows, like Leave It to Beaver, My Three Sons, Perry Mason, and I Love Lucy. That was fun. I can still remember the one we did with Have Gun Will Travel. Another one we did was called Off the Wall, On the Wall. It was people and things attached to a wall like they were mounted for a show. Just odd stuff we collected, and the people saying things that didn't seem to make any sense. Rex and I talked a lot about what we were doing. I had never talked that much in my life, and it all seemed to make sense, and more important, to be leading up to something. We felt like we were getting somewhere. To people accustomed to being on the outside of almost everything, that was quite a heady feeling. We talked about art and how by the time it got put up on a wall somewhere, it was dead, leached of its impact, its reason for being. It was like a fish, the difference between live fish in the sea and a fish mounted as a trophy up on somebody's wall. And we talked about doing something where we'd run the show, but we'd be invisible, like the unseen hand of God. So people in the show would have a feeling that it wasn't a show, that anything could happen, that it could even be dangerous. That's what we were after. Surprise, spontaneity, possibility, potential. Potential energy, Rex said, was something you stored up and stored up and stored up until even though no one had seen or heard anything, you were sitting on a powder keg of energy. That's the way we felt. But how to convert that energy? How to let it out? I envied musicians, the rock stars. That was such a high energy discharge like lightning, and the people were so hungry for it. In live concerts, over the radio, the spark would leap. Music was such a powerful form. And we wondered, what could we do to reach people like that so explosively? We met a lot of people making those short films, and we did a lot of them. We'd get an idea. Instead of thinking about it, we'd just go out and do it. Execute. Execute, Rex would say. We were the executioners. Some of them worked and some did not, but the way we looked at it, our artwork was like fishing. Some you kept, some you threw back, and some days you didn't even get a nibble. What made a big catch so terrific was the fact that it didn't happen all the time. I was still working at that lousy job, but Rex was married to a stewardess. She earned good money and was gone a lot, so he had the time to set things up for us. Then I quit that stinking job, and Rex and I did an amazing amount of freelance video production work for people and companies, and we made mucho dinero. And somewhere in there we decided to stop cranking out so much stuff and try to do something that would make a difference to somebody, anybody. Something that people would notice, that they could not overlook, that would be music to their ears and eyes and their medulla oblongata, our own disconcert. And we talked about this a lot. We weren't kidding ourselves with the public access stuff. Nobody watched that. The public wasn't accessing it at all. The public never accesses. That was just fun stuff we were doing for ourselves. Rex called it public access, and that's what we called ourselves, the makers of our shows, public access. We were like a rock band, because there was the slight hope that we might make a name for ourselves with that work, win an award, get noticed, maybe get a second city kind of thing going, like what happened in Chicago. But, surprise, nothing like that happened.